Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another MCOC video. And on this one, I'm going to be doing the follow-up to my final war video, which came out about a week ago, where I did mention that I would be leaving Savage Squad and additionally taking a bit of a step back from the game. And I did try to record this a couple times and it just wasn't coming out right. So throwing out those past drafts, I think what I've decided to do is a slightly different approach. And the way I'm going to be structuring this video is essentially I'm going to be talking about where I've been, where I am now, and where I'm going in terms of MCOC and my future with this game. So first of all, I do want to kind of change some of the language that I've been using on YouTube and in previous chats and things like that, where I've been using the term burnout. And I think there is some truth to that, but that does have a pretty negative connotation to it. And I think what I would rather do is call this basically that it's time to redefine my relationship to Marvel Contest of Champions. This game has brought me a lot of joy and a lot of positive things into my life over the past 6 years, but also there are some aspects of the game that I think can lead to unhealthy behavior if you get too obsessed with the game. Just in terms of the amount of times that you need to log in, the amount of times you're looking at your phone at chats when you don't necessarily need to be. And that's sort of the bottom line with it. I'm ready to put away some of the things of the game that I'm finding less enjoyable and to actually focus on some of the things in the game that I do think are net positives that do bring a lot of happiness to myself and to other people in the community. So that's kind of where we're going in this video. And I figured, you know, who doesn't like a good story time, right? So let's start at the very, very beginning. I downloaded this game, this application, whatever you want to call it, sometime in 2016. It was just going to be a thing to kind of pass the time. I've always sort of enjoyed little mobile games that you can steal a few minutes here and there. And I do vaguely remember when I joined, I think that Red Hulk maybe was the first CAV-EQ boss. Well, actually it wasn't CAV-EQ, whatever it was, the event quest. And I looked on Aunt May, so that must have been sometime in April. And I don't remember much else about that year because I don't think I was playing it that often, but I do definitely remember the Civil War event and Team Iron Man, by the way. That was the only way you could go. So, Team Iron Man forever. And then I must have taken a break because I don't remember much until October. There was the first MODOK mashup event. And then there was the Sorcerer's Conclave thing with the Dimensional Rifts and Mordo and Dr. Voodoo. So I do remember those. And then sometime around then, I attempted to auto-join an alliance. And, I was making my way through like Act 2 and Act 3. And I was like, oh, cool, Alliance War. And joined Alliance War and went up to the first node with like my 2 stars. And got triple KO'd because it was a linked node and I had no idea what the heck was going on. And promptly got kicked from that alliance. And I was like, what is this? Screw this alliance mode. I'm never going to be doing this again. But at that time, I was starting to get a little more interested in what I was missing. Like, what the heck was going on there? Why did I die so quickly? So I turned to YouTube and probably discovered some of the channels that were around at the time, like Mvincible and, Seaton and Brian had started their channels around then. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. So I don't have parry and dexterity unlocked. Like, oh, this is how you do arena with the infinity streak. And, oh, Realm of Legends, what's that? Stuff like that. Crystal opening videos, things like that. So, I was like, okay, all right, so there's things I'm missing here. So I unlocked parry, I unlocked dexterity, started making my way through Act 4. This Labyrinth of Legends was released, and I looked at that as like, oh, that's something I'll never be able to do, but it's something to push for potentially. And then I was like, all right, I think I kind of know what I'm doing now, so I auto-joined another alliance. And this one was a much more functional alliance. They did map 3. They kind of taught me the ropes about taking paths, about what linked nodes were. There was the Groot's mini boss and the Kang boss at that time, which I never took because I wasn't skilled enough to do it. And eventually there was a core of about 8 of us that were really good at coordinating. We were able to finish map 5. And at that point, we all migrated over to the Line app so that we could communicate a little bit more quickly. And long story short, we merged with an alliance that was doing more map 5 than we were. This alliance was called ADT37. And we spent a very long time together in that alliance running map 5. It was sort of the first big step up. First time that we were able to just like finish the maps. There was that sense of camaraderie. We did a little bit of alliance war. This was before seasons. And just to give you the basic time frame, this was like early 2017. So it was like just before the 12.0 patch came out, for your frame of reference. And this started a period of over 5 years straight of logging in to AQ 5 days out of 8 every day. Which, occasionally I would be between alliances and I would miss a cycle, or Kabam would cancel AQ. But essentially, since the beginning of 2017 until just now, AQ, the daily logins, the chats, all that stuff has just been the way of my life. And looking at it that way has just been a little eye-opening to be like, man, is there anything else in my life that I've done that consistently since 2017? And, aside from like going to work, I guess, like I don't really know, man. So it's a little bit daunting to think about the amount of times that I've been sort of like mandated to log in for this game. And it just kind of brings up some questions in my mind, of course. So from there, I'm not going to go alliance by alliance, but generally speaking, for most of my MCOC career, sort of whatever the highest map was, I was usually running the one right below it. So at that time, when map 6 came out, we were running map 5, etc. And for most of my career, I was sort of, when seasons came out for Alliance War, we were always aiming for Plat 3, sometimes getting Gold 1. That was sort of about where we were. So competitive enough that we were trying, but not pushing to the highest levels. Most of the time I was an officer. One time I was a leader. Sort of once you become an officer, you're sort of like permanently marked as an officer just because you have that sort of like go-getter attitude. So I completely understand that. I kept slipping into the officer slot even if I didn't want to. It just sort of is a natural thing that happens in the game. And then somewhere along the line, I got to a point where I was mostly caught up on the game and the content and prestige and things like that. And I joined my first Map 7 group. We achieved top 20 AQ for a while. And then eventually I found myself into a few war push alliances, and ending with my most recent stint with SSX1, where we were getting masters consistently and top 30 AQ. And I was with SSX for about a year. So that sort of marks sort of like my main home in MCOC as I was pushing over the last year or so. Now, I ended up being an officer with SSX, and it ended up being a situation where it was sort of like, as time went on, the responsibility increased and increased to the point where I was leading my own battle group, doing offense and defense setting for war, the war plans, everything like that, making sure that everyone was caught up on what needed to happen for war. And that, in addition to just the stress of playing the war and preparing for my own fights and, finding time to input all the defenders into the spreadsheet and assigning every single fight on the war map for 12 wars per season, that was sort of the tipping point for me. But I do see that there were some signs of this kind of, I'll use the term burnout again in earlier seasons, but I think that this one really sort of pushed it over the edge when I realized how much I was looking at my phone, how much I was thinking about Alliance War in my day-to-day life. to the point where I think it was too much this time around. And, I do want to also briefly talk about how a lot of my sort of ascent into Masters War and Masters War Officer was sort of during the peak of the global pandemic. And I still was very fortunate to work throughout the pandemic, but certainly there was a lot more virtual working and a lot more working from home. So even though I was putting in the hours, it was a lot easier to be like, oh, between these two Zoom meetings, I'm just going to take some AQ fights. It's fine. Things like that. So, as the world started opening up and now we're back to in person and more time driving on the road and just, hours away from home, and, things opening up and family doing stuff, hanging out with friends more. I think that I sort of got used to that sort of isolation pandemic life, which made being like a hardcore Alliance War Masters player a little bit easier than it is at this current moment, simply because there's more to do, there's more things in our life. Work is calling for more hours outside of the home and things like that. So that also did kind of weigh into it a little bit. But before we move on to where I am today, I do want to just reflect. I wanted to write this down. What were my 3 most important achievements in Marvel Contest of Champions since I started the game? And these were very, very easy to come up with. First of all, I'm going to start with the one that's going to kind of be in the past, and that was achieving Masters Top 3. If you've never done competitive Alliance War, I think it's an experience in this game that is unlike anything else. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody has the desire to do it or the roster to do it. But man, if you get a chance to try it, it is the ultimate team sport in this game. The ups and downs are pretty heavy. I will say, dying in war when you're one of the only ones who dies definitely feels terrible. But man, when you have the victories, it is an incredible feeling. And that season that we got top 3 was just absolute magic. We went up against a gauntlet of alliances and basically won out on the last, I think, 6 wars. Went 9-3 that season and just clinched that top 3 spot. Something the Alliance had never done, something I certainly had never done and will never do again. And just the bucket list aspect of that, as well as getting Masters 5 straight seasons, it just seemed like a good point to sort of retire from that side of the game after, because it was so good. I wanted to kind of quit while I was ahead. 5 straight Masters, the top 3. Incredible experience, something that very, very few people have the ability with a team to accomplish, and I was just so happy about that. But the other 2 accomplishments are things that I think can continue, and for me, number 2 was being part of Vega's rankings team. And this started with sort of what became a casual friendship in the game. We were both building our YouTube channels. He was certainly a larger channel than me at the time, but I put out a Red Goblin guide when he first came out a couple years ago, and Vega gave me a pretty huge shout out for that video. And at that part of both of our YouTube careers, that's sort of when we became friends. I joined his Discord server, and watching his channel and his approach to the game really kind of inspired me to give it a little bit more with my channel. I had been making videos since 2017, but it was a very casual sort of as I felt like it upload thing. I was not very professional with the equipment I was using, the thumbnails I was using, and things like that. And being seen by Vega and sort of validated by someone with a larger channel with me really kind of gave me the push that I needed to actually give this thing a go. And where it ended up is, I went from 400 subs to 2,000 subs. I got the channel monetized, got some other shout outs from some other prominent YouTubers, and it felt great. Even though this isn't a career, Just the ability to create something and be creative like that was awesome. And then, it kind of culminated with joining the team that is sort of nicknamed the Illuminati, where we talk a lot about the game. It's one of my favorite Discord chats. And we help put together the tier list that is one of Vega's most popular videos. And being part of that team is definitely a highlight for me. I have had so much fun, and I think even with stepping back from competitive alliance modes, I'll be able to continue with that team if they'll still have me. And yeah, I just really wanted to highlight that as one of the coolest things I've gotten to do. And then similarly, number 3 is the CCP. This is something that when I started my sort of like tiny YouTube channel a long time ago, it was something I always wanted but hadn't really worked for. And I just think in the past year, I did put in the work necessary to grow the audience, grow the watch hours. And when I got that email getting accepted to the CCP, it was a great feeling. It was sort of like being rewarded for the hard work. And, again, even though I won't be playing as competitively, I'm still going to be playing the game. Having access to the new champs and the information and the beta server and everything like that, I think is something that I'll be able to continue to make content on, have a voice in the community, and just be around some incredible people as well. So being in the CCP, just a huge bucket list thing for me, and something that I consider a major accomplishment in the game. And looking back, like those are so many positive things. So now I'm kind of looking into like, how can I create a relationship with this game where, I look in the past and be like, wow, I've accomplished this Master's War, but now I really want to focus on the things that are fun about the game and the community aspect of it and the friendships, as opposed to like grinding out the most competitive part of the game. And this leads me to sort of my second aside. And I want to give a piece of advice to anybody. If you are feeling burnt out about Marvel Contest of Champions, instead of quitting cold turkey, my suggestion to you is to just temporarily find another game and to go really deep into that game and see how that game makes you feel. And about a year ago, last summer, I got the game Hollow Knight for the Nintendo Switch. And this is like a 2D platformer, Metroidvania type game. A lot of people call it 2D Dark Souls because a lot of the systems in the game are similar to Souls games, even though like it's 2D and a lot of the art is very different looking. But this game is incredible. And what I want to tell you about is what I loved about this game. Like most console games, you buy the game and then you get the entire game, including multiple DLCs that just come with the game right off the bat. There's no like rat race. There's no incentivized monetization of anything. You just get this amazing game. And this game has incredible combat. Like, it is very, very skill-based when it comes to the boss fights. It has some incredible upgrades and systems of customization. It kind of reminds me of Masteries a little bit in MCOC with the charm system that you have. There's these incredible side quests. In order to get the full, whatever it is, 112% completion, you have to do these amazing DLCs and side quests, boss rushes, things like that. And I also noticed there's an incredible community for this game. There's some great streamers. There's a lot of talk about the lore of the game. Speedrunning categories for this game are very, very active and they're really fun to watch. And also, there's been some game developers that have created modifications of the game, including different skins and randomizers and things like that. And I found that even though it's just like a single story mode campaign, there's tons of replayability and there's tons of entertainment and new things to discover about this game, Hollow Knight. If you can't tell, I'm really excited about this game. Its sequel, Silk Song, is going to be coming out in the next year, hopefully. But, the main thing that I loved about this game was the ability to just sit down when I wanted and to be like, hey, I'm going to play this game right now. And then if I didn't want to play it for a week or for a month, that's okay, because my progress is saved and then I could join in. If I wanted to play for 8 straight hours, I could, or I could just let it go. And it hit a lot of the things in my brain that I loved about MCOC, the community aspect, the upgrading, the story, the lore, and the combat, the skill-based, like going into a fight until you can solo it thing, and on a console game. So I began thinking, I had so much joy around this game, Hollow Knight. How can I find that sense of joy in MCOC and also find a sense where I can feel like I can log in when I want to, not when I have to? Because like I mentioned, since 2017, I've been mandated to log in just about every day. When there's not AQ, there's probably AW, and I haven't taken that many breaks in the game. So, how am I going to achieve this? Let's move on to like, where am I going? Well, the short answer is I'm not sure, but I do know what my first step is, and I'm currently in that. And first of all, I hid the Line app and the Discord app. I didn't want to delete them because I thought it might delete the data, but they're basically like close to inaccessible from my phone so that I'm not checking them. So apologies to any of my friends who have been reaching out. I tried to let you know, like, do not disturb, at least for 2 weeks. I'm just going to try to see what life is like without Line. And also, currently I'm completely alliance-less. Like, I'm still logging in, using my energy occasionally. But for the most part, I'm trying to see what it's like to just completely log in on my own time. And I will tell you that so far I love it. But there is a missing piece of the puzzle, and that's the community, right? I think more so than even Hollow Knight, MCOC is all about the community. And even though I've sort of deleted the social media related to the game for this detox, I will tell you that this week I ranked 2 new champions to rank 3. And I also opened some Nexus crystals, and at least one of them had a very fascinating result, which I might post a video on. And I was like immediately like, oh, I need to share this in my Alliance chat. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm detoxing from that. So I need to process that information, because I do realize that a lot of this community is like, hey, look at this champ I pulled. I want to post it. Let's all get excited about that together. Who should I rank up? Things like that. And that's definitely missing. But I am still like 100% behind sort of this complete sort of detox from it. But I do think that I will join an alliance again soon. I think what I'm looking for is something that doesn't have a mandated login requirement. So maybe something with 30 members, but only 2 battle groups. So that, if I go on vacation, if I have a super busy Saturday, I can just be like, you can't count on me today. I'm not going to be logging in. But that I still do get a little bit of that community aspect, and still get a little bit of glory and loyalty, even if it's not that much, just because those are important resources in the game. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going. Perhaps in the fall, I may join up with something a little bit more competitive, but I do think that this is going to be the end of Alliance War pushing, just because that's a different level of stress, and I feel like I've kind of tapped out that mode for myself, especially with other things like Battlegrounds coming out and everything. I think I might be done with War. And I guess last thing I'll say is that I do want to kind of address War. You might be thinking like, oh yeah, compensation is done, so that's why you're leaving War. And I mean, maybe that has something to do with it. But ironically, we've just gotten a ton of loyalty from the compensation package. And additionally, selling all those revives at the beginning of the previous season gave us a ton of loyalty. So actually, I'm fine on the healing. Like, I could easily get through an entire season or 2 without it hurting at all in terms of like the loyalty, and probably beyond that. And additionally, I'm really good at farming boosts. I have a video on that, so I'm never really hurting for boosts. I know where to go to get the free boosts without spending any money on the 30%. And since I'm mostly using rank 4s on attack, I'm finding the 20% champ boosts are fine. I'm not needing those 30%ers. So I made it through this whole season only using 30% boosts, for example. So like, I'm fine, like, on the resources. For me, it's more about like, hey, we made Masters 5 straight times. I'm ready to go. Like, I've been super involved with war, and when I do anything, I give it like 1,000%. So I know that even if I step down as officer, I would still be trying to get involved. I would still be putting all this mental energy into war. And I think that was why I needed this breaking point, was that I was like, I think I'm ready to put this part of my brain away. And that even if I stayed, even if I sort of quit being an officer and was just a regular member taking 5 fights of war, I would still have that like inclination to want to give more. And so that's why I gave myself the hard cutoff. So like I said, I'm going to be allianceless for a while, maybe looking for a chill alliance soon, and then we'll see what happens in the fall. I have a very big crystal opening planned for when the Omega Sentinel featured crystal comes out. I'm going to have like, I don't know, maybe 20 of those crystals to open or something. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. But as for YouTube, I think this is going to be the end of my war videos, which is too bad because that was a big part of my channel. But there's a lot of really good footage on there, a lot of stuff you can learn from if you want to look at the old ones. But I am looking forward to maybe doing the like why so-and-so is good in less than 5 minutes series, certainly doing more CCP related content. And I may be doing some edited videos of long form content. Like, for example, I need to do my Karina's Volume 2 Abyss run for the one with the Spider-Verse characters and Green Goblin. And I was thinking of making like a supercut of that. It's kind of like on other games, for people that don't stream, they'll sort of do edited clips of the content. So keep your eyes out for that. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off. But I would say in general, this summer is going to be pretty chill for me. But what I would ask from you is keep your faith in me, because I do think that after this sort of period of reflection and kind of, like I said, redefining my relationship to the game, that the YouTube channel is still going to be going strong. And it may be a little slow over the summer, but I think come the fall, there's going to be some new content. So what I would ask of you is just to stick with me, to stay subscribed, maybe look at some of the old videos, and just, keep your ears open for when I do come back in full, because I am pretty sure that there is going to be more stuff coming to this channel as it progresses into its next phase. And finally, I just want to say thank you, primarily to all my subscribers, to anyone who's watched my channel over the past, I guess it's been 6 years or so. You guys have supported me so much, and I feel very, very lucky. This channel in general has been completely free of any drama or haters, and I think that says a lot about you, about a lot of the people that gravitate toward this channel. Are just super quality MCOC people, and I'm just very grateful that you've shown me that support, and helped steer me in directions that I didn't think I would go as well. And then to all my alliance mates over the years, there's definitely too many of you to name, so I'm not going to even attempt it. But you know who you are, that original ADT 37 crew, the Dev crew, the Agent Lava crew, and most recently the SSX crew. You guys have just been absolutely phenomenal friends, comrades in the game. You've taught me a lot about the game, and I've just made it a very enjoyable experience. And I look forward to staying in touch with you, and perhaps we'll play again in a more chill scenario sometime in the future. So anyway, I hope that kind of wraps up everything that I needed to say, so you kind of know where I am. Not quitting the game, just redefining my relationship to the game. If anyone wants to talk to me about this, feel free to, to find me online or Discord. Like, if you're having similar experiences, I'm all about talking about this, because I really do believe that, you know, I can show people a good example of what sort of the game life balance can be. Because I've been on both sides of that coin where I think it's gotten too intense, and then, you know, kind of showing people that like it's okay to take a step back. Like you're no one's going to get hurt if you're not trying your hardest in the game and you're trying to just have fun with it and just be have a fun time with the game and be an intermediate player. There's no shame in that at all. And it's something that I'm kind of looking forward to taking that pressure off and just enjoying using my roster and the champions that I've gotten over the time, and looking forward to what the Kabam comes up with in the future with the battlegrounds and whatever else is going to be coming out. So thank you so much for listening. Please leave a comment and a thumbs up if you can, and we'll take it from there. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.